Greetings once again, and this is the second part of my talking about a little bit about what Howler Mouse had mentioned in his video. In this case, I'm going to talk more about the homage side of things, where the big two will sort of do send-ups of each other's stuff. Before I had mentioned briefly Not Brand Etch, which is a parody comic, a parody superhero comic from the mid to late 60s, perhaps early 70s. And in that comic, they would have occasional stories dealing with the DC characters. But, you know, later on, as Howler Mouse was mentioning, you know, Marvel and DC were not shy, in particular in the late 60s, early 70s, of having things like parades and Halloween parties where if it was Marvel, you would likely see someone at a Halloween party dressed up like a DC character, or if it was DC, you might see somebody dressed up in a parade like a Marvel character. As a matter of fact, I'm glad that Howler Mouse had brought that up, because I thought I had remembered something like that, and so much time has passed since I last seen something like that. I was wondering whether or not I was imagining it. So big props to Howler Mouse for giving legitimacy to what I thought was real to begin with. Anyway, most notable in the homage arena would be Marvel's Squadron Supreme. Initially the Squadron Sinister, but as Howler Mouse has said, I believe there was some sort of Marvel version of an Earth 2. That's pretty much how I'm wording it. I don't think Howler Mouse said it like that, but pretty much Marvel did their version of an Earth 2, where the Squadron Supreme would actually be on this other Earth, heroes, or the Squadron Sinister on this other Earth would be heroes, and those heroes would be called the Squadron Supreme. I also saw near the end of Howler Mouse's video, I don't know if he talked about it too much, I don't recall him doing so, but at the end of it, I know he showed an image. I believe this is the image that you see before you right now, which is the Freedom Fighters. And I remember having that Freedom Fighters a long time ago, and pretty much figured it was one of the few little jabs that DC took at Marvel by having this team, the Crusaders, essentially be a knockoff of Marvel's Invaders, where you had your Captain America type, Submariner type, Human Torch type, and the accompanying sidekicks. And I like that, and I was wondering why DC hadn't done it more often. And come to my dismay, or my surprise, I should say, Howler Mouse mentioned a few other instances where DC has kind of taken liberties with Marvel, and one of those was the characters that you see right here that are on this Justice League cover. Now, I had this Justice League book. I remember the story. I remember the characters somewhat, but I never put two and two together that they were, essentially the Scarlet Witch, Thor, and I think Ant-Man or Hank Pym or whatever. One of the things I think Blue Jay threw me off because of the bird, the bird motif. So I wouldn't automatically think of Hank Pym, even though Blue Jay was a character that shrunk down. And there was no red with the, I believe her name was the Silver Sorceress. And really, just going from that name, I should have put two and two together. And then the other character, he was, as I recall it, I might be incorrect, but he was hammerless, so I didn't really think of him as a Thor type. But when I look back upon recalling the story, I can see where Marvel would have essentially taken license with these characters. Another thing that Holler Mouse had mentioned that I didn't think of at the time when I actually had the comic was I believe these characters were the Extremists. They were in Justice League Europe, and I never put it together that you had the one character, Dreamslayer, I think, who was the Dormammu of the group, and you had one guy with the Greek Medusa-like hair, and he was essentially Dr. Octopus. I never strung those things together. But it's interesting to think about when one looks back upon those things. One thing, I don't know whether Holler Mouse showed this at the end of his video or not. I don't remember. When I put it in as a link in the description, I'll probably know that he did or that he didn't. But one thing I don't remember him mentioning was one of my favorite deals in terms of Marvel mocking DC, and that was with the Imperial Guard. And the Imperial Guard, you can see clearly, was a swipe on the Legion of Superheroes. Gladiator, no doubt, was Superboy. And you had a Timberwolf type, you had a Phantom Girl type, you had a Chameleon Boy type. Although I think all these characters were adults. But the icing on the cake was that it was Dave Cockrum that designed these characters. And it was also Dave Cockrum that designed what at that time was the later versions of many of the Legion characters. The Karate Kid, for example, who used to wear the orangish brown costume, that I know that was pre Cockrum, but the black and white or white and gray costume with the swashbuckler type boots, that was Dave Cockrum, as was Wildfire, a later version of Timberwolf, a later version, I believe, of Element Land, and so on and so forth. And to have the Imperial Guard sort of be knockoffs of these characters, I thought was highly entertaining. And then what you wouldn't see that much of, and when you did see it, you would have to really look for it, is that occasionally Marvel and DC, and I think especially Marvel, would throw in little notes that were on DC characters. But if you didn't know what you were looking for, or if you didn't catch the inside joke, you might miss it. Most notably, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago in the Fantastic Four, where one of the reporters, one of the reporters on the scene was actually Clark Kent. But you really had to be observant to catch that that's who that was. And I'm sure DC has probably done the same, and I just didn't notice it. But anyway, this video is going to be fairly brief, and I just basically put this in as kind of an addendum to the whole company crossover thing. So until next time, I'll simply say, night out.